Look around your digital world. You see Windows on your PC, you see macOS on your MacBook, you see Android or iOS in your pocket. We obsess over these operating systems. We fight wars in comment sections over which one is better. But what if I told you that beneath the surface of that visible world lies another operating system? An OS that is likely responsible for delivering some of the videos you watch online. An OS that sits inside the most popular gaming consoles on Earth. An OS whose DNA is embedded in the very phone in your hand. It doesn't have billion-dollar marketing campaigns. You won't find it pre-installed on a laptop at Best Buy. Yet, without it, the modern internet as we know it might collapse. In our previous video, we spoke about Linux, the OS that serve as the backbone of modern OS, and today we're investigating FreeBSD. We are going to find out why this foundational operating system, which underpins so much of our modern tech infrastructure, remains largely unknown to the general public. We'll uncover its quiet dominance, examine how it powers everything from Netflix to PlayStation, and answer the ultimate question: is FreeBSD the greatest unsung hero of the computing world? To understand FreeBSD, we have to go back before Linux, before Windows. We have to go back to the primordial soup of modern computing, Unix. Created at Bell Labs in the late 60s and early 70s, Unix was a revelation. It was powerful, modular, and portable. AT&T, which owned Bell Labs, was forbidden by an antitrust consent decree from entering the computer business, so they did something amazing. They licensed Unix source code to universities for a nominal fee. One of those universities was UC Berkeley. At Berkeley, a culture of brilliant hacker academics got their hands on Unix and started tinkering. They improved it, they added features, they built the foundational networking protocols that would eventually become the internet. They packaged these improvements into something they called the Berkeley Software Distribution, or BSD. Throughout the late 70s and 80s, BSD Unix became the gold standard for academic and research computing. If you were doing serious networking or scientific work, you were likely using a VAX computer running BSD. It was cutting edge. It was the hot rod version of Unix. But there was a catch. It still contained original AT&T code deep in its guts. You still needed an expensive AT&T license to run it legally. By the late 80s, the goal at Berkeley changed. The mission became to replace all that original AT&T code, line by line, until BSD was completely free of encumbrances. They wanted to set Unix free. They almost succeeded, and then the lawyers got involved. History is often defined by what-if moments. In the history of operating systems, the years 1992 to 1994 are the ultimate what-if. By the early 90s, AT&T had been broken up. The consent decree was gone. They realized they were sitting on a gold mine with Unix, and they wanted to monetize it. They saw Berkeley giving away a free version of what they considered their property. In 1992, Unix Systems Laboratories, or USL, a subsidiary of AT&T, filed a massive lawsuit against a company trying to sell a commercial version of BSD. They claimed copyright infringement and theft of trade secrets. They sought an injunction to stop the distribution of BSD entirely. This lawsuit was a nuclear bomb dropped on the BSD community. Development didn't entirely stop, but it lived under a dark cloud of legal uncertainty for nearly 2 critical years. Universities were scared to touch it. Companies didn't want the liability. And nature abhors a vacuum. While BSD was tied up in court, a student in Finland named Linus Torvalds was looking for a free Unix-like system for his 386 PC. Because BSD was legally radioactive at that specific moment, he decided to write his own kernel as a hobby. He called it Linux. If that lawsuit hadn't happened, it is highly probable that Linus would have just downloaded BSD and used it, and Linux, as we know it, might never have existed. The lawsuit was finally settled in 1994. It turned out AT&T's claims were largely blown out of proportion. BSD was declared free. Out of the ashes of that chaotic period, the BSD project fractured into different directions. The three main descendants emerged: NetBSD, focused on portability; OpenBSD, focused on maniacal security; and the one we're talking about today, FreeBSD. Its focus was relentless performance and stability on standard PC hardware. But by 1994, Linux had a 2-year head start on gathering momentum, developers, and mindshare. The free Unix spotlight had shifted. BSD had missed its moment for mainstream glory. So, if Linux captured the momentum, why didn't BSD just die? Why are we still talking about it 30 years later? The answer lies in philosophy, specifically the philosophy of licensing. To understand why FreeBSD is the unsung hero of the corporate world, you have to understand the difference between the Linux license, the GPL, and the BSD license. Linux uses the General Public License, or GPL. It's often called a copyleft license. It says, you can use this code for free, you can modify it, but if you distribute those modifications, you must share your changes back with the community under the same license. It forces sharing. It's viral. The BSD license is different. It's a permissive license. It essentially says, here is the code, do whatever you want with it. Build a billion-dollar product on it. Close the source code. Never tell anyone what you changed. Just give us a tiny credit line in the documentation. For a community of volunteers, the GPL makes sense. It ensures everyone benefits from everyone else's work. But for a giant corporation, the GPL can be terrifying. Corporate lawyers hate uncertainty. They don't want to be forced to release their proprietary secret sauce just because they use some open source code. The BSD license is corporate friendly. It allows companies to take the rock-solid foundation of FreeBSD, build proprietary technology on top of it, sell it, and keep their competitive advantage secret. And that is exactly what the tech giants did. They say the best technology is invisible. You don't think about the concrete foundation of your house, you just enjoy not sinking into the mud. FreeBSD is the concrete foundation of the digital world. Let's look at the evidence. Let's start with gaming. If you own a PlayStation 4 or a PlayStation 5, you own a FreeBSD machine. Sony's Orbis OS that runs the console is a fork of FreeBSD. Why? Because of that license. Sony needs deep control over the hardware to squeeze out every drop of graphical performance. They have proprietary graphics drivers they do not want to share with competitors like Microsoft. The BSD license allows them to take the stability and networking stack of FreeBSD, add their secret graphical sauce, lock it down, and ship millions of units without legal headaches. Next, let's talk about bandwidth. Netflix. When you hit play on Stranger Things, you're not streaming that file from the cloud. You're likely streaming it from a red box sitting in your internet provider's data center. These are called Open Connect appliances. What runs them? FreeBSD current. Netflix chose FreeBSD because its networking stack is legendary for performance. They worked closely with the FreeBSD community to optimize the kernel to push an insane amount of data. We're talking hundreds, unit terabits a second of encrypted video from a single server socket. Linux couldn't match that raw throughput efficiency at the time they made the decision. If you enjoy buffering-free 4K streaming, you have FreeBSD kernel developers to thank. And then there's the biggest giant of them all, Apple. While macOS is not FreeBSD, it is its closest wealthy cousin. At the heart of macOS and iOS is a kernel called XNU, which is part of a core system called Darwin. Darwin is heavily derived from BSD technology. When Steve Jobs returned to Apple and they needed to replace the aging classic macOS, they bought NextStep, which was built on, you guessed it, BSD Unix. The command line environment, the terminal you see if you open Terminal on a Mac, is largely taken directly from the FreeBSD project. Every time someone swipes on an iPhone, a little bit of that Berkeley DNA is executing. So if it's good enough for Sony, Netflix, and the core of Apple, Why aren't we all running FreeBSD on our laptops? Why did Linux win the desktop war among open source enthusiasts? There are a few reasons. The first goes back to that head start. Because of the GPL license, hardware manufacturers are incentivized to contribute Linux drivers back to the kernel. The Linux ecosystem for desktop hardware, webcams, weird Wi-Fi cards, brand new gaming GPUs is simply vaster. FreeBSD has always prioritized server stability and architectural purity over chasing support for the newest consumer gadget that just came out yesterday. If you put FreeBSD on a server, it will run until the heat death of the universe. If you put it on a brand new laptop, you might spend 3 weekends trying to get your Bluetooth headphones to connect. There's also a cultural difference. The Linux world is chaotic, bizarre-like, moving fast and breaking things. The FreeBSD world is more like a cathedral. It's architected, methodical, and slower to change. This makes it incredible for infrastructure, but less exciting for desktop users who want the newest, shiny features immediately. While there are great desktop projects based on FreeBSD, like GhostBSD or MidnightBSD, they remain niche compared to Ubuntu or Fedora. It's easy to measure success by market share graphs or logos on laptops at a coffee shop. By that metric, FreeBSD is a footnote. But if you measure success by impact, by reliability, by how much the modern world depends on code you wrote, then the story changes completely. FreeBSD didn't lose the OS war, it just chose a different battlefield. It chose the server closet over the coffee shop table. It chose to be the silent engine room rather than the flashy dashboard. It is the operating system that respects you enough to leave you alone and respects operations enough to let them build upon it without fear. It is a testament to the idea that great code, freely given, can change the world, even if the people using it don't know its name. Is FreeBSD the unsung hero of the OS world? When you turn off this video and go back to streaming a movie, playing a game, or just scrolling your phone, remember that somewhere deep in the stack, the daemon is doing the heavy lifting. I'd say that's pretty heroic. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section.